Welcome everybody. It's quite a weekend for everyone. Everybody's here. Okay. Thank you. So everybody, why don't you just leave our eyes closed for a minute? And I got a wonderful little note from Astrid. I don't know, did she put it on the... Okay, because it's really quite wonderful. She's just a little snippet from it. She says, we've had the most incredible news possible. This PET scan completed yesterday at the beginning of Teja's fourth round of chemotherapy shows that there's no trace of the tumor. We're beyond ourselves with joy and gratitude, as you can well imagine. Then she goes on describing how happy they are, because this is very significant results with this particular type of tumor. Totally cool and wonderful. So we'll just focus on them for a moment, extending our awareness to them, or the awareness. That's really fantastic news. It's very beautifully said. So we'll focus again with each other. Welcome back, everyone. Nobody's been busy. How many of, if anyone has read those texts, how to read a text and how to hear a text? Anybody has read that yet? Good. Okay. Has anyone read Hermeneutics in Augustine and Innermost Awareness? Yeah. Are you guys finding that useful, reading that? There's difference between mind and awareness, huh? I'm just going to read just the beginning. Read a little bit. So we'll focus in again. I'm going to start off with where we were last week. I think it was last week. It sounds like a long time ago, whenever that was. This issue of the translucidity of mind and the infusion of the awareness field, which we've been focusing on the mutual infusion of the awareness field and at the level of the Sambhogakaya realm. So as you and I as we hold mind within our awareness, learning how to hold our mind within awareness. That means we have to know a little bit about the difference between our mind and awareness. But as we hold the mind within awareness, the field illuminates our mind and bringing forth translucidity of mind, and the translucidity of thoughts. So this is this entire de-densification, and the translucidity of affective states, and the translucidity of sensation, like pain, opening it. Both openness and luminosity, both those. Space and light, The translucidity of memory, and the translucidity of fantasy. We begin to experience thoughts as light, feelings as light, sensation as light, sexual experience as light, even our flesh as light. And this means being able to see through, this whole thing of being able to see through phenomena, to see into phenomena, to open phenomena, seeing through thoughts and feeling through affective states, and perceiving through fantasy. And this brings forth states of empty mind as light, and Sems and Semde, that distinction that's often made. Seeing through beliefs, seeing through our beliefs, seeing through our prejudices, this translucidity of experience, and the translucidity of presence, and the translucidity of phenomena of appearance. And I'll just read from this first part again of the text. How to read a text and how to hear a text, which takes us into the whole hermeneutic deal, the unfolding of understanding and meaning through time, how to open words and syllables, how to open up words and syllables so that language arises from within our own body and with our own inner awareness. And when you and I are located in mind alone, when we are located in the conceptualness and concrete mind alone, then you and I will be locked in and contained. That's being locked in mind alone. Huh? William Reich describes concrete minds when we're in that concretized state as living machines. And concreteness can be described as rigidity, a mode of tense cognitive activity, and strangely enough, concreteness with its compulsiveness, its drivenness, can actually distort the sense of presence and the sense of reality itself. The concrete mind in its literalness struggles to find right solutions, and the literal view can be narrow, highly vigilant, and stimulation bound, like intense field dependency. So the concrete mind struggles to find the right solution relentlessly. I think we've all been through that. In Gestalt therapy, they call it the Gazaric effect. Of course, whatever the solution, it is never enough when we're in mind alone. And so one becomes stuck in the stimulus of the word, or stuck in the signification of the word. And the nexus between the signifier and the signified is without space. There's no space between the nexus of the signifier and the signified. And it's all densely bound. There's a profound difference between mind and awareness. And to know this difference is to know a necessary difference. Longchenpa suggests that the poetic capacity of opening up language, of the opening of language, where the language signifies not the mind alone, but the language is actually articulating, expressing the awareness field. And so learning about awareness takes place not in mind alone, so it does take place there, but in a different way. It takes place as cognitions, but within awareness field itself. This awareness field is wisdom, gnosis, or direct perception. And Longchenpa, as well as Dorje Lingpa, in their attempts to demystify gnosis, would suggest that everyone is intelligent enough to do this. But the major limitations we try and go beyond or dissolve is concreteness of mind alone. And this concreteness is not a function of intelligence or brightness. Actually, concreteness contains the brightness, contains the knowingness, and concreteness mutes the brightness of experience, the brightness of thought, the brightness of all those things, sensation. Concrete thinking can become a stimulus, a substitute for brightness. So our concrete thinking can become a substitute for brightness, and this substitution becomes what is often called figuring it out. And so with that you have a loss of presence. So translucidity of mind and the infusion of the awareness field. So I'm just going to read it over one more time. So as we hold our mind within the awareness field, as we learn to bring the mind within the awareness field, the field illuminates our mind and bringing forth translucidity of mind, translucidity of thoughts, translucidity of affective states, translucidity of sensation, translucidity of memory, and the translucidity of fantasy. Thoughts as light, feelings as light, sensation as light, sexual experience as light, flesh as light, actually pain as light. This means seeing through thoughts, feeling through affective states, perceiving through phantasmagoria. And this brings forth states of open mind as light. Sems and Semde. Semde is mind. Sems is mind. Semde is this awareness. So being able to see through beliefs, the translucidity of experience, the translucidity of presence, the translucidity of phenomena, the translucidity of appearance. When working within awareness, in its dimension of form, or as Namanikaya, is what was just described, thinking. And then in the last things we had with Lama Tarchin, where he was going into the Song of Realization, he described entering the dimension of the Sambhogakaya, where we begin working with awareness as configurations of light and space. And this is often called the realm of rapture, the realm of bliss, and describes it as partaking of each other, the communing with each other at this level of light. So there's non-dual, still with some degree of form, but this non-duality becoming more and more experience. So this archetypical dimension, to use this sort of language, is light, and all this is completely experientially near. And it is appearances as energy or energetic luminosity, and can be worked directly within the state of mysterious conjunctio. So as we enter into this, what Jung would call the mysterious conjunctio, and he was also trying to explore the same question: what is this medium? First, we wanted to explore what is the medium where projection takes place, where I can project all sorts of things onto you that I don't want in my own self, and I can project badness into you, and I can also project goodness into you. You're all good, and I'm just a piece of shit. You with me? So and he was looking at the medium, and through that he started discovering also the medium of the field. He was using other language, okay, and from the medium of that field phenomena, he went deeper into the medium of the archetypes and how that archetypical dimension arises through this medium. You guys follow what I'm saying? And this can be worked directly in the states of mysterious conjunctio. And this is a very powerful way to work with a person or ourselves, not just under the auspices of being a therapist or whatever that other type of things we might be doing. And so we've been focusing a lot, especially the last month, the last 6 weeks, we've been focusing a little bit more with individual work. And I always don't think it's the best way because it really gets boring for everything else. But I think just experiencing it this way, we can hear how the language is, because we're in the field with each other, we can feel it taking place with each other. And to me, that's how we learn it. It's really by hearing it, seeing it, and experiencing it. If we can experience it, my assumption is we can do it. If I can experience it, then I know sometime, maybe not today, but in time, I can do it. To experience it, because once it's experienced, it's not in my mind alone, as this text said. It's arising out of my awareness field. What we want to learn, not through mind alone. It's really useful to have mind alone, because it helps point out, but it's when it starts arising naturally within the awareness field simultaneously. That is the true hermeneutic circle. Say yes if you guys are, and if you don't, then you have to read that paper. Or I will have to read it, but I'd rather you guys read it on your own, and then we'll go over it again, okay? But that's why there's this play between awareness and mind, okay? Now, and then last week, Kanu's here. We worked together in that mysterious state of union that takes place when we're in awareness simultaneously. And in that, there was this arising of the energy, and actually, to use other language, there was an opening of the heart energy, the column of light. Both there was the light in the horizontal, this way relational, but also opening up this way. Two awarenesses are often better than one. And as this energy opened up, it started going right for this section here, right? Called the brain gone dead. The mudra, Kachari mudra. And the Kachari mudra is a fantastic mudra. Swami Muktananda would talk about the Kachari mudra very often. As the heart energy arises here, right, as it rises up to here, it starts opening up more space. So as you and I are becoming more light, more embodiment of the light, or the rainbow body, to use that language, that space, first there's more space, right? There's more space, openness. And sometimes that open space, at the initial things can feel like void, emptiness, and not the most pleasant. But how as we stay with this and have certain supports and echoes and resonance of different self-object functions, to use that type of language, slowly it starts to arise. So in that moment, again, the Kachari Mudra starts to open. And the Kachari Mudra starts to open, so this whole center starts to open, and all the upper centers start to open. That is really going through a important transition at that moment. As it starts to open, this whole oral perceptual phenomena starts to open. And then we start to experience our tongue coming up and touching the palate, or even being pulled. It's being pulled up behind the palate. And as we experience that, a number of phenomena starts to take place. And Baba would often describe this as the skygoer. So he was using skygoing language, just not unlike the others would use the Deva language or the Dakini language. This is really, you're truly in the Dakini realm, the skygoer realm. And you're going to be experiencing yourself soaring more, moving through phenomena, de-densifying. Excuse me. And as the tongue opens up, it's also opening up. It's connecting. There's a connection that's taking place from here through here. The tongue's connecting all this more, and the Amrita states start to really flow. Amrita, the viscous, liquid, light bliss, and so there is this bliss that's more than any other bliss begins to open up for us human, plain old ordinary human beings. Another phenomenon that takes place, I don't know if this happened for Kanu last week, but sometimes the breathless breath happens here. So at this point, and it's sometimes a bit shocking, stunning, and at times a little terrifying, but we're learning to move through this stuff out of confidence, confidere in the unfolding of the energy, but the breath stops. And I remember one time I had this experience. I may have mentioned it. I really got scared, and I was going to say no breath, and now I'm starting to go beyond certain limits. But first was uncomfortable, curious, uncomfortable, and a little bit of terror then starts. I'm going to pass out, die. So then I decided I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to leave this situation. But then I couldn't find my hands. I couldn't find my body. And that was really, really like, uh-oh. And then suddenly the breathless breath arises, okay? And the breath is like a wind coming up. Then someone mentioned this last week, I think it was Marilyn, when she was experiencing the wind as light. That is also part of the Kachari Mudra. Is she here today? Okay, the Kachari Mudra, you begin to experience that the energy and then the wind, you hear that the winds, after sometimes describing the winds, is actually the radiance. It's light. So it's the light moving, but it's also the light as breath. The penuma itself as breath. The penuma, the very breath of human beings, is light. You with me? Breathing, the light is the breath. You follow me? So then the light comes up as breath, but we're not breathing our regular, it's just arising. The breath just starts coming. Just the breath is arising. It's not unlike dying also, and it's similar because the breath is going, except it's unending breath, rising and rising, coming through. So with the Kachari Mudra, two things take place. One is there's an opening of all these places here that begin to allow the nectarian states to arise. It also helps open up the gaze more. So the little channels that go from here, come through here, come up, the Gati channels, the crystal channels, that allow us to gaze and actually see through phenomena and see the light of phenomena. So it's not with the third eye. It's not this doesn't take place in third eye aspects. But in these traditions, these embodied Hridayam traditions, whether it's in Qigong, whether it's in Shaivism, Dzogchen, then the gaze, we begin to see the light, divine light, with our eyes. Ordinary human eyes. Not third eye phenomena. We see the light with our eyes. We begin to see the light in ourselves and human beings in this, they might call it psychosomatic oneness. So the Kachari Mudra is really cool, and it's good to know about it when it takes place. Did I ramble? That making sense? Kachari Mudra. And now, sometimes people practice the Kachari Mudra, but from this point of view, also Yen Qin, Dr. Yen, part of in Yen Qin Qigong, who was a heart essence Qigong, not unlike Mr. Ma's a heart essence Qigong person. in he would also, the favorite place for placing the tongue, and you hear this every Wednesday at 12 because Sharon often puts the CD DVD on of Dr. Yen giving the instruction. You place the tongue up at the palate. You with me? And he would describe placing the tongue up at the palate, making the connection. It can happen either spontaneously or you can just place it up. There are other things that gets really, sometimes people start stretching their tongues and start really doing all kind of hatha yogic exercises, to get a longer tongue. You with me? I think there's better things to do with your tongue. and unless you have a little teeny short tongue. But other than that, I wouldn't really worry about this stuff because it really is the energy, and the tongue is just a manifestation of the energy making this intense connection between the heart chakra and the column of light is now moving up through everything with great intensity, but it does empower our gaze to do this. Any statements about Kachari Mudra? Anybody have that experience, Kachari Mudra? Yes. Yeah.
I was wondering about this because we started working with opening up my throat.
Yeah, throat.
And then when I went to see Alma on Saturday, I got the radiance healing.
Uh-huh.
She was doing a lot of work with my throat.
Yes.
And opening up, and I felt a lot of energy coming through. But ever since then, I can't open my mouth because my jaw hurts.
Yes.
And it's been really weird because I didn't injure it, but I didn't know if that was energetic.
It might be some energetic blocks there, and sometimes some massage there can help open this up. Hatha yogic stuff a little bit. Drinking lots of water, A little acupuncture there too. But bypassing this, bypassing just feel the vibration. Also, one thing about the Kachari Mudra also, sometimes, as you know, sometimes here we do the little practice of bringing people's head into the heart center in order that the heart energy will come into. But if the person's mouth is open, this is very esoteric, but then that heart energy itself can help, can do the same. The heart energy can come from my own self this way, up, but the heart energy from you might be coming that way. Like if you like when you're going with Amma and you lean into her chest, her heart, and all that heart energy comes into you. It's very, very refined, though. It's light. So the Kachari Mudra, right? That, when they say this Kachari Mudra is opening up for you, you are now entering the realm of immortality. That means the experience of unborn, undying, is starting to become your own in the palm of your hands.
I think it's also important how the head is balanced on top,
Mm-hmm.
so that channel is open, that, it's not, you're not too far forward, your back, that it's really balanced.
Yes. I'm glad you're saying that because that's what most people say. You with me? I think this is a prejudice. I think it's sort of true, but not too true. And by this I mean, I go back to being concrete. I think the dilemma and the temptation is concreteness. And the concreteness of a posture, the concreteness of the tongue, because you can really get into concreteness around where the tongue should be, how it should be, and all this. and the concreteness. I think to be in a natural pose is really useful. And I know that's what you're talking about. But we have to be careful about getting locked into obsessional states. You with me? And really, the state of devotion is much more powerful than any particular concrete form. You with me? And to feel devotion, or to feel the love of the energy, the love of the light, the love of divine, to feel that, and to feel the resonance that you have with humans in this world, and animals and trees. I think that natural posture is powerful. And a person who actually said this a lot, aside from Swami Muktananda, was Namkhe Norval. And Namkhe, people would always talk about postures with him, because a lot of people would come, what's the posture? And he says, the posture is like the Himalayas. There's no one posture. And what about the seven, all these postures, you with me? It's great. If you can do the postures, great. But you can do these postures forever and nothing happens. You with me? And the more you try, the less anything is going to happen. You with me? So the Himalayas and the postures of the mountains are this way and that way and all these ways. And it's like it's important, but place it secondarily to the postures. If you go read about Kachara Mudra, say, on the internet, you're going to really see a lot of obsessive compulsive thinking being presented that day. Just read it for the fun of it. You with me? How to stretch your tongue, where to place it at exactly. You with me? But that's not really the dependence we have on the energy and the light and the winds. Okay, Kachari Mudra. Yes.
Several years ago, when you were broadcasting in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and Otis was down with you,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember, he was leading the meditation
Yes.
for a while,
Uh-huh.
and the energy came up. I can't remember how to explain it, but it just opened up, he said, in his whole head.
Open, yeah. Open, yeah. Yeah.
And then just...
Yeah. He actually was giving, too. He was giving that, and he had a ball in front of him. And he takes the ball, he says, meditation is like this. And he opens the ball. And as he opened that gesture, then all the energy opened up for us. It was totally cool. Totally cool. I also love when Otis comes, because he's going to probably come next Wednesday, because every Wednesday when he's here, Mr. Ma throws him. And Mr. Ma has lots of Qigong power, and he's very, very humble person. He doesn't show off. But when he does it for Otis. He takes it, Otis flies around. So it's really quite fun. So we have to be careful with concretization. And we start off, I'm going back to where we started this past semester, when we start off with Longchenpa, talking about concreteness. And he says it's the concreteness of our thinking, the concreteness of our trying to behave certain ways, or the concreteness of belief. Because the more concrete we are, we can densify our mind. You might just notice this for yourself, So belief densifies mind. It concretizes mind. A thinking, perceiving mind awareness continuum. That continuum can become mind alone. We can lose that continuum, that natural continuum of awareness coming through our mind. And then we get locked into dissociative mind alone. And then opinion becomes fact. And then truth, which we love the truth, becomes the adequatio intellectus, a thing. Mind becomes this adequation of my mind with the thing. And in making it that specific, my mind can then become a thing, and light becomes densified. And metabolization of experience is substituted by memorization, right? So metabolization is substituted by memorization as security source. You with me? So we start memorizing everything, if that's the truth, and the more we depend on memory, the space of awareness dissolves.
That's why memory goes when you get older.
Huh? What?
That's why memory goes when you get older, so you can't do that.
You can only have wisdom, or hopefully. So you guys follow this whole thing about experience. So we're going to focus again And we're going to focus again a little bit about. There was other text I read too last week, that classical text which I don't seem to have here, where I thought I had it. Maybe I do have it. Maybe I don't have it. I do have it. Looks like I'm unprepared, right? So this text is a natural liberation of the vast expanse of three embodiments, a prayer of the natural liberation through contemplating the peaceful and the wrathful. But it goes through invoking the Dharmakaya of the Dharmakaya, then the Sambhogakaya of the Dharmakaya, then the Manakaya of the Dharmakaya, and there's always different archetypical images, that deities that symbolize that. Then you go through the Sambhogakaya of the Dharmakaya, and Sambhogakaya of the Sambhogakaya of Namanakaya, then you go into Sambhogakaya of Namanakaya, then you go Namanakaya of Namanakaya, Namanakaya of Sambhogakaya, and Dharmakaya of Namanakaya. Or to put it another way, as one, this is an infinite realm. Awareness is infinite in its dimensionality, huh? And so at times we want to embody the light in the Manakaya level, embodying the light as Sambhogakaya level, and embodying the light as the Dharmakaya. You guys follow this with me? And so we've been practicing working with each other through, and we're going to start probably next week doing it as a group. I might do it one more time again. Modeling. What a terrible word. Modeling. Must be a better word. So let's do this again, okay? It's okay with everybody? So if you guys lean into me, I will become a better person, okay? When people lean into us, we do become a better person. Have you noticed that? More light, in spite of whatever's happening with our mind, right? Light. More light. More light. More light. Goethe, when he was dying, was saying, more light. Was he calling forth more light, or was he experiencing more light? Everybody, raise your hands if we all feel like we're together on this, where we're at right now. So I'm going to go into awareness again, and I'm going to check in with, and usually I've always followed a little bit with the same person who I worked with before to have a little bit of continuity. So I'm focusing in. So I'm going to focus with Kanu again over there. So Kanu, what's happening for you right now? What's it like to feel that opening in that center, in that throat? What's it like to feel that opening at this moment?
A lot of energy, a lot of radiance.
And what's happening above the throat, in the palate or the eyes, if you don't mind? If you wouldn't mind, just leaning up there a little bit more. What's happening there? And also feel me with you. Make that little connection.
There's breath is coming very slowly and
deeply. Huh?
and deeply,
Deep breath.
and it's like at a moment it feels like my nose is closing off.
Mm-hmm.
The nostrils are like it's like a nose flare.
Yep.
And like my eyes are moving up toward the middle of my forehead.
So eyes are starting to move up, the nose is closing, and I think that happened to me, now I'm realizing. Because the channels are open inside, and we're not using this channel to bring the pranic in. Pranic is coming up, so the body, all this is the wisdom of the body. Closes up, the energy's moving up, quietly coming up into the eyes. What's it like to feel the eyes moving up, like so, up, straight up?
Uh, um, a lot of light that I can't tell is coming from inside or outside.
Beautiful description of, at this moment, I can't tell, is the light coming from within or without? And so this is really, as the body is, I would say, colluding in the best sense of that term, with the, you're seeing the opening of the light more and more inside. The inner light begins to open at from the forehead up. Look at that nose opening out. You're just standing with that.
Hmm. There's pinching in my forehead that has been it's like starting as an ache, as a headache, and over the past week I've had like sort of a non-stop headache.
Yep, you're right in the forehead, near the third eye area.
Yeah.
Do you feel a pinch like someone's pinching you?
Yeah, I'm in a vice grip when I get there, like it's.
It's called a lock. And sometimes it's not always pleasant. Sometimes the Kachari movie is called the tongue lock also. So our body goes into a little bit of a lock, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we're being held here, but it's actually we're being held because the energy is holding us, and it's doing this divine work of opening up the innermost channels. It's opening up more and more inside. You with me? Just opening up, and we'll sit there and just feel that for a while. And if you can feel some resonance with the room.
I feel a lot of emotion coming up that you said that, because I thought something was really wrong with me.
That's why we're doing this debrief. Because it is literally called a lock. But I don't like using that word because it makes me just give it, but it's called the Kachara Mudra lock. So we start feeling like we're locked in, you with me?
Yeah.
And it's just useful to know those locks, the body becomes very, very stable, like super stable, and as this divine word is opening up there now, because now going beyond the tongue is really coming up into the upper area. And sometimes even just to pull your hair a little bit, just like you're pulling very lightly, just like you're just pulling lightly, or sometimes even someone can just do a little pulling around you, you with me?
Yeah.
And that opens. I'm just going to do a little pulling with you if you don't mind. Just a little pull, and here we go. It's like opening it, with more space. It's actually just more relief. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just hanging out with it. So now I'm going above the head, and there's also this column goes above it, so I'm going above it, and this is nothing special. Because if we know about it, we can do it. And the center's above me, so now I'm going above it. Just pulling a little bit. And it's the same thing we're always doing, resonating to each other.
I really feel the pull, especially like the back of my eyes are pulling up and up and out.
And it's coming out and coming through. There you go. And you can always feel that the source of this is the guru, the inner guru. You with me? And the guru manifesting, and then we've also met the embodiment of the guru this weekend with Amma, you know. The embodiment of the guru through the text of his message. throat lightly, in the heart, navel, lower body, just opening the doors a little more. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is it sort of fun at this moment?
Sort of fun because it's taking the pressure off my head.
Taking some of the pressure off. So now I'm just moving lower. This is not magic, it is common sense. Okay? Pulling now. I'm going to touch your forehand and your wrist. And would you mind just, again, putting your wrist, that chopper, and just like breathing the prana into your wrist. Just breathe it like this. This. What's that like for you?
Um,
Are you loud? Palate loud?
yeah.
Your tongue moving around. If you get some liquid, you can swallow it. It's really good for digestion. In Chin, we call it the golden liquid. Do you feel the devotion arising naturally in your body?
Yeah. My tongue went up,
Huh?
and my tongue did go up,
It can go up naturally.
and
And then you can also feel your connection to your root guru, who teaches, from different traditions, and support. Do you feel the strength in your body at this moment?
oh yes.
What's it like to feel this much strength in your body?
It's a deep knowing conviction that I am so taken care of, that I can so trust this power, this energy that I long for. I can so trust it.
You know, I happen to be reading Infusion Rinpoche's text on his called Short Vajra Essence Tantra. And in this text, he calls awareness, the divine awareness, the protector. And I love that word, in the protector. And that human beings actually have this protection. And we're just going to hang out there right now. I'm going to pass the microphone from you. This takes a while. It just keeps working naturally. And I really love us going through that together just now. And I can, and through you, I can feel it in my own body, the resonance. Thanks. And we really do believe two awarenesses are better than one. So let's focus again here. And so Heidi, you're in the welcome Heidi, you're in Finland, eh? Can you come on? Can you hear? Great. Yes, we can. So let's just do a 2-second piece of work, okay? Can you lean into us here? What happens as you do that? Just feel that pull. What's it like to feel that pull from inside you? And that pull is symbolized by the red goddess, the Kurakule. She's magnetic. What's happening now?
Karma has depth
more depth to it. Yeah. That's a great phrase, isn't it? The depth of awareness. Dujum Lingpa describes the becoming aware of awareness as the opening of the depth of awareness. I was reading him this weekend at Amos. Opening the depth of awareness. Would you like to feel that depth opening in you at this moment?
It's almost like there's a web of light strings that connects me to what is pulling me. And it kind of gives this sense of a cosmic connectedness,
Say it again, please. How?
like
Cosmic connectedness, yes. And it's like the Godaba Tantra called the magical matrix, the magical web, huh? Cosmic connectedness. So we're going to just hold this cosmic connectedness, this indivisible little place, if that's okay with you, just for a few moments together. And we're going to extend to you, and you're going to extend to us. By us, I mean all of us here. Now, it's a very mutual experience. If you're doing this extension, it's very mutual, isn't it? Both giving and receiving simultaneously. And what's it like for you right now?
so the physical distance has totally lost its relevance. And actually, at times when there was this extension to me, it felt like there was light rays that actually kind of go through me, but also I go through as in this light form through others.
For me, as you and I were doing this, it is also like just like there's no at one level there's vast physical distance here, and on another level there's no physical difference whatsoever. The same thing influences my understanding of death enormously, and as I've heard the great yogis talk about it, that through mind alone, death is impossible. It is just the void, the distance is beyond impossible. And yet within awareness, there is no distance whatsoever. And you can believe this or not believe it, but who cares, right? But through practice, that's why we love extending to people who have gone beyond this domain, this dimension. And that's really what is going beyond this dimension of time and place into another dimension of timelessness and some form of time also. And to have that understanding and to have the practice of extension is enormously beneficial for all of us. Because the light is beyond time and space. And as wholeness is the manifestation of primordial awareness in time and space, there's also wholeness beyond time and space in that dimension. Who? You have a good time right now with this, Heidi?
And you feel hear me? It's a little
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So it was mindfulness is it's almost like the different dimensions as I have understood them in the past, they actually collapsing, and there is less dimensions, but there are new dimensions created at the same time.
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
Do you feel the light in your body right now?
Yes.
What's it like to... Yes?
But it's almost like this, the body boundary itself becomes a little bit less relevant because the light that is there is not really restricted by that boundary.
Well said. Beautifully said. So we're going to pause. We're going to get to someone else here now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's focus. Dawn, did you and I work yet here? Did you work in this room? You worked in the room here?
No.
Okay. And do you mind working a little bit right now?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to extend to you. And we're all extending to Dawn. Dawn, can you feel me over here a little bit?
Yes.
What's it like to feel me over here? That's simply a metaphor, right? It's a metaphor. What's it like to feel me over here?
It's a sense of energy.
It's a sense of just plain old energy. And what's it like to just have that sense of energy over here and there at the same time?
It's very, it's soothing. It gives me a sense of stability, a sense of oneness.
Yes. So it gives me a sense of soothingness,
Soothing.
a sense of stability, and a sense of oneness
Strength.
and strength. So all that comes, it just moves into us, right? And it's also it's like feels like it's moving into us, but it's also self-arising at the same time through that marvelous resonance and echo-ness. So it arises in us, and immediately we feel that sense of the self-soothingness, and just as we start feeling stability, which is amazing to be stable in all this vortexualness, and finally the sense of oneness. There's oneness, and yet at the same time difference simultaneously. This is not fuzz. This is not soup. Are you with me? This is not knowing our ass from a hole in the ground, to use that type of metaphor, right? We've all had that experience, I'm sure, at least once, okay? So what's it like to feel your own differentiatedness and the oneness simultaneously at this moment? Whatever that means.
I could feel people on my errand and even
Uh-huh.
sort of like spreading out for the sense of everyone and you. So one that, it makes me more in my body because I am a different person, yet I'm connecting to everyone.
Yes. Now, paradoxically, the body is profoundly important with this because it makes me more in my body, means rather than being dissociated and out of my body, which I can do, and Dawn can do this really well, okay? In a quasi-ethereal state, you with me? The embodiment of the light, the embodiment of the energy, actually has lots of influence because now I'm embodying the light in my body and in my life and even in the moment of death. So the body, the embodiment really is now helping bring forth what the yogis call the rainbow body, or the body is becoming more, and the light is becoming more embodied, more flesh, and more a sphere that we are now becoming more and more. It's like a creative act is taking place when we do this. That doesn't say the other path of not this, not that is not totally valid, but actually this has, at least in my prejudice point of view, has a lot of advantages to it, you with me, in terms of being in this world and how we experience this world. You okay over there? Okay, right. And you might just focus on your lower chakra a little bit more. Go downstairs into the lower center. Great. How are you doing right now? Do you like being in your body?
Yes, I do. It's not without sadness and emotion. Sadness,
Yes.
but it's still okay.
Yes, yes. This is very important. She's really helping us all here, because when we go into the body, we're going to experience a lot of stuff. We're going to feel sadness. We're going to feel a whole range of affects. So one of the great reasons why we leave our bodies is not to feel sadness, not to feel loss, not to feel emotions. So we dissociate and we leave our body because we don't want to experience that. And the dilemma, it sort of works but doesn't work ultimately. But also we start losing the vibrancy and the protection of the embodied state. So the pound of flesh is to go into the body with the light. We start experiencing sadness and all these other feelings. But what happens then, the light can do its job of metabolization of sadness, the metabolization of loss, the metabolization of all this stuff. It metabolizes it. And then rather than feeling less light, we feel more and more the body of light. So all this experience, all this emotion, love, hate, lust, everything and anything said actually becomes the primal matter of the light. The light consumes everything. You see these texts. The light consumes everything. So the light consumes this. It consumes all this experience and becomes more and more light. Say yes if you have some sense of this. Say yes. So this consumption of experience, though the experience becoming more and more involved in luminosity as light, is what's taking place. So there's more light through experience itself. So through experiences, through all these experiences, more and more light. And what you and I do, we expand our range. Now this is a nice range. I can be in this range, nice people, even smells good, and this is a pretty assimilatable experience. But then as we go more and more, different experiences that are terrible, you with me, can also be consumed by the fire of awareness. You with me? So we strengthen ourselves. We learn how to metabolize everything and anything through the great fire. And you can think of Lord Buddha's talk on fire. You with me? On the fire element, On the fire element. And last week we were talking about different stories about Buddha's life, but there's also other stories of Buddha's life, of Buddha primarily being fire. And I'll read some of those the next time we meet. And there's different mythologies about people. You with me? And the same with Padmasambhava, and the same with different yogis of the fire element, being so important in all this. How are you doing right now, Dawn?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm feeling very embodied, very grounded. And, sometimes when you do the geometries,
Geometries?
I will just go into this state of bliss.
Right.
And it's not the state of bliss now, it's just more, it's more integrated, it's state of being, it's just accepting.
Yes, this is more of an integrated state of simply being in the bliss realm. You with me? There's a certain realm of bliss that is really great. And some of the early tantras open that bliss overcomes suffering, okay? But that realm of bliss can become fixated. You with me? And as soon as we get fixated on bliss or fixated on anything, it's still bliss, but it's now being held in a fixated way, and it actually becomes a little dissociated from our life. You with me? It's like having to go to the bathroom. You with me? Can't wait to go to the bathroom, because then it's bliss of the toilet. You with me? And so this goes beyond that, because you're integrating the light in the very embodiment of your life and circumstances. Or as it's said, I read last week or 2 weeks ago, Dorjen Blinkpa describing, no, Lama, what you call him, Lam, the potentiality being in the potential space of our circumstances is realization. To our circumstances are really central to this. You with me? They are the path. So what's it like to be in your body now, and the bliss is more integrated in your body, but you're not just in pure bliss?
It's easier to hold it.
It is easier to hold it and to live in it. So we really want to, we're all working on living in this in an ongoing way. Where we're at now is we all want to live in this awareness state every moment of the day. Even, but what happens, we do it when things are good, but as soon as things go bad, or we go bad, we think we can't do it because we're now bad. So there's a fundamental splitting where you have to get beyond good and bad that we can do this. How are you doing with that, Dawn?
Doing well with that.
Great. What's it like to be just here?
I can let go of a lot of nervous energy, a lot of holding, a lot of keeping it together.
Keeping it together.
Just here.
You're just here, okay. And can you lean into me just a little bit more if you don't mind, just psychically, without leaving your body? Do not leave body, just lean in.
Then everything just opens up.
Then it opens up more, but you're still here. And what's it like to feel that openness and yet still here as you? A who?
Nice to be a who. It's wonderful to be here.
Being a who is really something, huh? And this who-ness. We're going to pause now for everybody. And Elizabeth, have you and I worked in the room here?
At some point, yeah.
But in this past month?
Yeah.
Oh, we did? Okay. Okay. Kay, have you and I worked in this past month here? Great. I hope everybody's with this. And if we lean into us, everybody, then we can, because we all are learning how to use the Sambhogakaya dimension, with me, where we partake of each other and we actually use each other in an instrumental way. That's the language Lama Tarchin uses. So, Kate, can you feel me over here right now?
Yes.
What's it like as you feel me over here?
With the intensification of the rest of the room on the same focus, it clarified my ability to feel your presence over there.
Or to feel that presence of this person. I'm playing with a little differentiatedness of presence being presence. And what's happening in you right now?
Well, when you said that, then all of a sudden I felt significantly that also the same presence in all the people between you and me, and then I had a curiosity about, well, what about everybody else? And then the answer was yes.
Great. And what's it like to feel that yes at this level manifesting in you? Not from your mind, but self-arising, the yes coming from awareness itself.
Hard to describe, kind of, words don't get it, but it's, more full, supportive, connected. None of those words are exactly right.
But they approximate it.
They're true.
So these poetic words are closer. The poetic words are closer, but not enough. What's it like just to see this experience that language doesn't enough it? Just what's it like to see that language doesn't enough your experience?
It fills me in a way that makes me smile chills, like those good chills inside my whole body, up and down, running up and down.
So you can feel the vibration running up and down your body, huh? Or the chills. Are they still moving like that?
And they quieted down, and then when you asked, they came up through my trunk.
And what's happening as they come up through your trunk?
It got to my heart, and then just spread into light in the heart.
So they just opened into the heart essence, into light, right? And what's it like to feel that herdayam, that heart essence, the goddess, to use that language, as light, or as awareness as light?
Well, immediately it started radiating in the form of like a Subhogakaya experience, in the form of tiny little flowers that were radiating to each person in this room if they wanted to say hello to them.
Beautifully described as the flowers are manifesting. And what's it like to have that experience of that flowering within that center?
Well, it feels now, as people are accepting these flowers that radiated out from the heart, then it feels like a infinity sign, then that comes back to my heart, and then there's no word, but it's like the sun arises in my heart.
Is that what you're experiencing right now, the arising of the sun at this moment, huh?
Yes.
What's it like to feel that self-arising, I'm going to call it self-arising of the sun, of the luminosity, the self-arising of luminosity, arising in you right now, at this moment?
It's vitalizing, and there's something new about this experience. As the sun talks to my cells, it's very vitalizing. It's imparting something that I can't even know about. I don't even know what it is.
It is oftentimes that will happen, we will not know what it's about, but that not knowing has nothing to do with the validity and the completeness of the transmission. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'll just read this from this particular text. And this is someone talking, a conversation between the goddess and this person. I tell you, okay, it consists in uniting oneself with the indivisible, sublime, subtle, imperceptible, with no concrete existence, the reality sublime, above the inner sky, light and bliss, both transcending the universe and completely identical with it. We're just hanging out Sri Vidya. Okay. So, are you having a good time right now? Okay.
Oh my goodness, yes.
What's it like to feel your accessibility to this dimension of your own awareness, of awareness itself? What's it like to feel your accessibility to this dimension?
It's powerful and it's wonderful, and everything else but this disappears.
So everything's now disappearing, and this you'll see sometimes in text is describing the four visions, and finally they speak about it dissolving into the light, huh? That dissolving quality. Is that okay with you?
Yes, and I feel like I have one of those rubber nose plugs on the bridge of my nose, and pressure in the back of my head.
And the rubber nose plug, is that stopping you from breathing through there? Is that
Oh.
okay? So you're breathing through there, okay? Okay. Maybe we're going to start to end, and we're going to do a geometry this morning. Okay, we're going to start to end up. Everybody okay with this? And we're working together, and next week we'll start to work with each other. But there's not much psychology. Dawn was very useful. Dawn brought psychology. People brought psychology in, but they went beyond psychology, huh? And went beyond that. So, anybody want to say anything before we start our geometry? Yes, please.
I just want to say, last year I started hospice work,
Uh-huh.
and the whole point was just to hold this space.
Uh-huh.
And so this process has been going on. I've been through profound changes since I started doing hospice. And I didn't realize it was because this work was actually happening.
Yeah. So you're helping us all because actually this work is you. Let's be really clear about this. This work is neither here nor there. This work is the unfolding of your own dharma. You with me? And dharma can never be dogmatized. We can make dogma and dogma is like it's like a paradoxical language. Nothing. So what's happening to you in your life, and especially you're drawn to working with people, and as we all know, when people are approaching death, the Dharmakaya opens up. You with me? It starts opening up, and sometimes it creates a lot of havoc around it because it starts opening up space, and things are just being discovered, and yet to be with people as they take that next step, then we have the good fortune of experiencing the manifestation of the Dharmakaya in a very pure, direct way.
Yeah, it's opened up my heart.
Opens up your heart, everything opens up, and the great compassion, which is primordial awareness itself, becomes more and more our own. So glad to have you here and what's taking place. And really enjoyed speaking about Peter Devlin's death last time we were here also. And so let's create a geometry right now. Is this okay with everybody? Everybody's awake, but let's create it. So you can sit right there. Carol, you're going to sit there. Dawn, you can sit there. And we do some work together. Maybe we'll bring the little computer in that they can be in the middle too. I hope everybody's enjoying this and feeling the different dimensions that we can be in. Perfect, thanks. Here we are. Kano doing okay over there? You look great. It's stretchy though, isn't it stretchy? So this is not sitting by the pale lake. Are you with me? It's stretchy. And our functions are stretched. And our awareness is stretched. And I'm going to mention a book now called The Heart of the Yogini. And this is a Sanskrit tantric treatise, but this is from the Hindu tantric tradition. And much of this, we've been doing history again a little bit formed. This was around the 4th century. The goddess traditions started really emerging in both Hinduism and Buddhism. Because these guys are neighbors, right? This is all in the same country. This is India. And so the tantric traditions, you have the Tara Tantra, and then other tantras arising with it in the Buddhists, but also what I like about this is really a great translation of this tantra and a great commentary by André Padu, who's one of the great masters of the Hindu tantras. So I mentioned a lot of books. If you want to read. You don't have to read, but this is a really great book, okay? And it opens up the tantras for you from the Hindu tradition also. And you can see how there's such an exchange. And so there is the Vedic, the straightforward Vedic, and then you have the straightforward Buddhism, you with me, and Mayamaka, okay, Narguna. And then you start having around the 4th century, the tantras start emerging, you with me? And the tantras start bringing back into the world flesh. You with me? And what to do with the flesh. You with me? And how to work the flesh. With me? And how the whole range of the Tantra started bringing this back in, okay? And both the Hindu and then you have certain these Upanishads. They're not the Upanishads are there, but there's these local stories that also start bringing this stuff in, and then we have this starting to emerge. And the last time we also spoke how Dzogchen itself was in Tibet prior to being in India. Okay, so the Dzogchen Tantras were in Tibet, and you have the Bon tradition, okay, was in Tibet. And so Dzogchen is being manifested in the Bon tradition. Padmasambhava starts bringing Dzogchen there. Padmasambhava was not an Indian. Padmasambhava was not a Rastafarian, but he had some close, but from perhaps Afghanistan or even Persia, all these places, Odiyama coming in. So he comes in with these esoteric teachings of the light, who then Herbert Gunther, one of the great translators, that was highly influenced by the Christian Gnostics, and then later in this book by this priest, also exploring the light and the influence of the Christian Gnostics, and in terms of this stuff, which we like thinking comparatively. Okay, and so you have a lot of these tantric texts in Tibet, the Gaudama Tantra, and all this, and then with the second flow in the 11th century, because now the Mongols are coming in, killing undoing the monasteries. The monasteries are big places. There's wealth. There's stuff there. Let's steal everything, kill them all. And so that type of village, whereas the Hindu village stuff was, you couldn't massacre all the villages, had a more chance of survival. And then also other issues of the dynamics of the Hindu traditions around divinity and struggles like that with Shankarananda and the debating with the Buddhists and battles like that. So anyway, there was this mass movement into Tibet. Tibet became the home. Other places also became the home, but the more tantric, the Vajrayana, found a home in Tibet. And then you start integrating Dzogchen teachings into Tibetan teachings, and that took place. But the final culmination was Longchenpa. But with the Tibetans coming, with the Indians coming, you start having other times, the Kala chakra being formed. It was in India, but it's in all these other chakras. You have the new translations, the Kagyu tradition, the Galupa traditions, and the Sakya traditions being formed in Tibet. And they weren't at all necessarily Indian traditions in India, but they wanted to bring all the Indian texts and translate them. That's another summary. So let's hold the awareness together. And we all have a lot of energy. We've been with the Mulam and with the great empowerments there, and we've been with the empowerment of Amma. So we focus on that today. Would someone like to sit in the middle? We can focus on our friends on the internet. Let's focus in the middle. As Yang Tang Rinpoche describes what he called absolute compassion. It's the word he used, is this capacity from timeless awareness, more or less, to extend the light into the present, into the past, into the future. So would someone like to sit in the middle? Great, thank you. And if someone else wants to sit also. And let's see if we can find the Sambhogagaya level within ourselves. Whatever that means for you, that archetypical level, the energy. And even if you have a particular archetype you love and relate to, you can bring that up. And these archetypes don't belong to any particular tradition, right? And all these different cultures have their own archetypical manifestations. Like in Japan, it's often nature, right? the mountain, Mount Fuji, or whatever, you know. And so it doesn't mean that all the archetypes have to be blue beings with big teeth or whatever. Are you with me? It's totally valid expressions, but a lot depends on our traditions, whatever one is. Or sometimes it's just nature and light, or felt sense. Alan Wallace was describing, for some people in the contemporary times, it's going to be some kind of algebraic equation. The archetype's going to be a form, an algebraic equation, not a quantum equation, not algebra, but one of these advanced type of equations that appears to you and sums up everything in a moment. Makes sense, doesn't it? Not my cup, but
I have a client that's having that experience.
you have a client that's having that experience. Spirit is being that is totally cool. That is totally cool. So let's focus again on the two people in the middle, and let's lean into them. Let us enter into them gently. We use the word mysterious conjunctio a lot, haven't we, of late? This union, the conjunctio. We enter the conjunctio. And it's a union of light and energy, huh? And actually, to gain some mastery at this, some degree of sublimation, as we've mentioned, has to be in one's hands. One has to have some capacity for sublimation. The light is being sublimated from simply being the sexual energy at the navel alone. And a lot of tantrics got stuck at the navel level. They never went beyond the navel level. And so the tip of the penis became the big focus. Dujia Rinpoche talks about a donkey who got caught with that. Who just loved the tip of the shining penis, okay? He was a tantric donkey. So we have to go beyond that. It doesn't preclude sexual life for people, but that is not the source. Or it's some would conceive the only path. You with me? That's a very limited view. Hivajra Tantra thinks that way. So we'll go beyond that. Heart Essence doesn't think that way. So we can extend into each other. And this way the sexual energy is transformed and transmuted and actually helps open up the inner heart, that little doorway. It helps, as it rises, helps open that and becomes the light. And then it moves up into the palate of the mouth, opening up that. Then behind her eyes, top of the head opens. And we are the column of light and begin to experience unborn, undying. Huh? And as this happens, the fear of death dissolves. It's not that the suffering of death dissolves, because I've seen great yogis just cry and cry and cry about the death of someone they loved. You with me? So, suffering at some level is involved in being a human being. And we embrace it. And we embrace that around love. You with me? And even though at the moment of death there's direct connection, even after death there's direct connection. And we know it and feel the richness of it. And we can feel our life living with the dead in the true sense of that. And if you feel that living with the dead, that dimension, the vibrancy of it, the truth of it, the empowerment of it, and yet there's a sadness because there's something so precious and fantastic about embodiment, this great creation of the flesh. You with me? And what it is to really, the mystery of truly the incarnation of the light becoming flesh. And to live this way is really fantastic and the best. And then we extend to the two people. We're going to enter into them again. Feel your capacity for extension. Now, this is not the only way to go about this, but it's a fun way. As we practice extension to those who have died, or who are not physically in the body, but still in some form of embodiment, it's a very useful and courageous practice. That's what we always do. We always start off embodying our own awareness in the present. Then we extend to the immediacy of our situation, because that's the true karma at that moment. If there are people there, inside to inside directly, that will give us enormous strength and companionship. The word consort really means, the truth is companion. And then we extend to those we know and love, who have gone beyond this flesh, and we extend to them in mutual support. In mutual support. In vibrancy. In actuality. It's only imagination, who cares? And then we extend to the great yogis we've met from the different traditions, right? In mutual support. Again, in mutual support. All this is mutuality. Neither high nor low. And then we extend to the different traditions that we participate in. Those ways of articulating this experience of primordial awareness through different traditions and cultures and words and understanding. And then also, in that, when you really are extending to the particular teachers in the first movement, which is not quite lineage, it's lineage. It's the lineage experience. It's not simply the tradition. So when you're actually connecting to personal people from one to another, who this has come through to you or to me. Are you with me? Is this making sense? So lineage is not quite the same thing as tradition. Okay? It's actually more powerful and rarer. You really want to know that difference, okay? And then you go to tradition. It's good to have traditions and different ways of thinking about things. But there really are different ways of thinking about stuff. And we all have certain prejudices. I have a lot. And And then we go into that dimension of awareness of Sambhogakaya, the archetypical structure. Which you don't necessarily have to be a Buddhist to this. It is archetypical in the archetypical dimension permeates everything and anything, different words and languages. Are you with me? And how are you guys doing in the middle? What's happening for you? Good to see you.
It's a beautiful rhythm of breath just permeating my whole being.
What's it like to feel the breath, that particular breath that we may even say is the breath as light, or the light as breath, that wind, the wind as light, what Marilyn pointed out last week. What's it like to feel that?
It's very comforting, it's very luscious, it's full, it's, like I said, it's very rhythmic, so very alive. It's very alive.
It's always alive. What's it like to know it's always alive?
It's always alive, and yet I want to experience it more.
Yes, okay.
More fully.
And how are you doing, Gisela?
I'm feeling that column expanding, and I feel so protected and surrounded. Because I was in pain, I felt temptation
my body, and with
Yes.
Dawn's help, I went back into my body and experienced that. And the pain areas shot out like arrows out of my body.
Perfect, hon. Perfectly described, huh? Mhm. You can feel her right there. And can you put it to words now? What's manifesting in you? What's arising?
Me,
Yep. Gisela.
very calm and comforting and knowingness that whatever the body is experiencing, it's okay. It's all inside and outside at the same time.
What's it like to have that knowingness that it's both inside and outside simultaneously?
It's a sense of calm, acceptance, joy. A sense of this is the authentic place to be in and out at the same time.
Yes. That is a great word. The authentic place is an exquisite expression of what authenticity is. It's not like simply having an authentic feeling. You with me? But it's like the authentic place, which is the place of awareness. And all of us are little places of awareness in time and space. Beautifully described. Thank you very much. What I like knowing too is I can lean into you both. And at that moment, your experience comes into me, or I come into that experience. And it's very direct. And so what you're experiencing, I can also have a taste of in myself. And that brings me forth better. You know, that is what that companionship is. Great. Thank you so much. You can take your time. Would two more people come up? Two more people? Why don't you come on up? Miley, come on up. Good. And your dad. Why don't you and your dad sit together? Great. Glad to have you here. Great. So we got a lot of time. Sometimes the time stops, right? The time is just, it has stopped, which is really cool. So we're going to all lean into Skip and Miley. And the people in Finland and in New York State, New Jersey, can't see where the people are at, but we're all together in this non-local place. Now, we've always been with a lot of great yogis this past weekend, so let's invoke the yogis and the field that we were in this weekend. That is a Sambhogakaya function. And then we're going to extend that experience of that feel into the two people in front of us. Hello? we'll extend the field. We're going to extend the field into them. And it's not just memory. It's not just memory. And can you feel the difference at this moment between memory of the event and the field of the event? Say yes if you can. That is a very useful capacity. The memory of the event, you can go into that, which is different than the field of the event, which is now a trace in the alike dimension. And then we, as ordinary people, with some luck, okay, good fortune, can extend this field. And there's different experiences of that field here. Now we're always asking people to share their experience. And Skip, would you mind sharing your experience of what just happened just now for you?
So, when you invited us to go into the field or into the experience, I was back being with Amma.
Mm-hmm.
And then as everyone shared their experience and extended it, amplified it, infinitely.
Could you at that moment distinguish or differentiate your memory of being with Amma and then the experience of being actually in that same field?
I actually don't think I had a memory.
Okay. Thank you so much. Miley, what's it like for you, hon, as you...
I've sort of been dealing with a different thing from a lot of people. But I was talking about the hospice and my heart opening and holding compassion. And almost like every month I can hold more and more of it. But what I struggle with is I see a lot of suffering. And so, sorry.
So let's stay with the suffering we're experiencing. And would you mind, as you see the suffering, allowing your awareness to metabolize some of that suffering? You with me? And you want to metabolize some of the suffering. That's not the same thing as internalizing the suffering. And where you're at now, because you've been working, so you can see all this light and energy in you, so you have a lot of the bodhicitta, which means that compassion is actually the protection from internalizing suffering. You with me? Compassion, true compassion does not, but it can.
It doesn't feel like mine.
It's not yours.
Yeah.
It can metabolize the suffering. You with me? So just stay with that for a moment, and you're going to just know that this is now yours. When you see that suffering, you can actually help metabolize the intensity of the suffering, and you can metabolize that which you're seeing and others are experiencing. This is quite different than empathy, and it's completely different than internalizing other people's things because you want to be Jesus Christ, okay? And I don't mean offense against anybody, but this is not what this is. It is quite a different method. Unless that may be what Jesus meant, but it's not been communicated that way.
No, and it's not painful to me, but it's there.
It's not painful
So.
to you. It is there. It is there. And now you've really brought this really great, okay, for all of us. So you're metabolizing suffering. You with me? And you're metabolizing it, and your awareness, which is bigger than your body, is also in the other person at a certain level, whether they know it or not. So this metabolization process, you with me, can take place, and that's why people feel better when you're there. You with me? And they want to see you. You with me? And it's not so much what you're saying, but that process of metabolization of suffering through the bodhicitta is really, really, really fantastic. And I'm so glad you brought this up for all of us today. Because often we're talking the opposite. Because a lot of people come in and metabolize suffering because they're very empathetic people, and they grew up to be empathetic, decided to make a little money from it, and become therapists. and, or coaches or whatever. And yet, then they internalize all this stuff, which empathy does do, and it's not useful. So, doing okay with this?
Yeah, no, it's I'm calm and I'm fine, but it's like you said, the metabolizing.
It is work.
Yep.
It is work. And so the metabolization function gets stronger and stronger in you, and you become more and more light, and you feel more light, and you feel more this porousness, and people can feel both the light echoing in you, and at the same time that metabolization process, especially at death, helps the person feel somewhat of a shared experience of some of that suffering being dissolved, and that allows them to enter with more consciousness or awareness into the moment of death itself, which is a fantastic gift which we all wish to have. This okay with you? So with that, we're going to extend to you now from a number of different people. If you're okay, we're going to extend to you from and through Swami Muktananda, a root teacher. And then behind him, Bhagavanichananda. And supporting you completely and happy what's happening for you. Because this is the natural frame. And then Lama Wandor. And dipped in calcium. And Kunzadesha Nepal. And his son Rinjin Dorje. We're going to go to Yen Chin, who has a deep relationship with you and your family. Would you mind when you get the door and tell them to wait? Okay. Sure. They can come in.
Okay.
You need a signature. Okay. And then we're going to focus on other masters you've met who belong to you. And also other masters we know, Lama Dorchen, Dorje Rinpoche, Tina Norvo, Dorje Lingpa, and many other lamas, great yogis. And all the different archetypes. And it's very useful as a person to want the good karma, the good destiny, to have a mastery of death. Is that okay me saying that to you? A mastery of death. That mastery really frees us from other people. Because annihilation anxiety is the most fundamental anxiety. This okay? Anything you'd like to say as we end up today?
No, I just feel very supported and solid, and like this is right. This is the right state to be in, but it's very difficult to be in it.
It is
To
very
hold it.
difficult, but there's vast amount of support for you. It's really, you feel it, and you want to allow yourself to feel the support. You want to feel and to really to look to. You hear me often always going to support, always, that you're the vehicle. You're definitely your body, your mind. You're the vehicle, and then you want to check into the support that's right with you, and coming through you. A-okay? Thank you so much. So next week we'll meet again. We'll have satsang this Friday. We're not going to have the Dakini practices this Saturday. If that happens to change, I will email everybody out. Okay. I haven't thought about it just now because it's been a pretty busy period. I think we're not going to have it. Okay. Now also, Pete's going to come here next Wednesday. And I've asked him to talk about the light and the process of cosmology and the planets being manifestation of the light. And it's also, this is what he has told me, if you look at all the planets are different symbols of the light. Like Saturn is like air, I think, you with me? And Mars is fire, and all these different symbols, okay? Like the vibrations of the light. And so as you look at charts, it's actually like the configuration of the light that you are encountering. You with me? And what that means in light of your thing. Then as we go into some of these texts, we've focused on mantras before, but a lot of these tantrics look at all the light as in our body as the different syllables, right? Om, ah, hum, ah, aham, ah. So it's always in these traditions we're working with the light or the wind or the energy a lot. This okay? And I really appreciate Marilyn's not here today, but when Marilyn, I always love, which we always love because it's the experience of the guru coming through. And she said, I'm feeling the wind. We've spent some time on the wind in the beginning, but the wind is light. And to really understand that opens up the mystery of the winds for all of us. A-okay? Yes, please? Yep. Yes?
The reason I was saying there wasn't memory is I went back to when I was with Amma. I stepped into her heart and then became Amma's heart. And this is the month Marilyn died.
Yep.
And it dissolved all the suffering.
Metabolize suffering. When Amma's up there, Amma is metabolizing for 22 hours human suffering. Okay, she's transmitting, but actually if you notice it is primarily a metabolization process that you're in. She's metabolizing this for her devotees and the people that are there. I'm going to make one more statement while we're doing this is around trauma. We wander lots of places when trauma is very important, how to work with trauma. And some people think that trauma, you just open the door and let the whole thing just come through. You with me? When you think this way, you're a personified asshole. Make no mistake about it. If that's how you work with people, you just open the door completely without knowing what's there, who's there holding it, and is there a base to hold this or not. You with me? And just doing trauma that way, you should look in the mirror and you will see the word asshole written across your forehead. You with me? Or you may even see an asshole, okay? Trauma, but your mind-body experience that's cultivated by awareness. I don't mean you have to be little yogis, but we're working with awareness that holds it. And you go step by step as the person assimilates it and metabolizes it. You're watching the same process of assimilation and metabolization, whatever method you're using. You with me? And that is really useful to know. It's also useful to know that some people who have the blessing of awareness, and sometimes people who have the blessing of direct perception because of the very traumas they went through as children. If you don't know that, you're also an asshole, okay? I'm serious. You want to know, it's a gift, that people go through traumas, and the trauma they go through sometimes blocks certain developments of mind. You with me? And though it's difficult, they maintain baby awareness, baby gnosis. And this is not everybody. You with me? But when working with those people, and everyone here will work with those people because you have that resonance of the light and the energy, you want to know when working with trauma with that person, it's not like Skip just described right now. It was not a memory of Amma. It was the heart essence of Amma. So some people who have trauma, it's not just traumatic memories. When they start to deal with the memory or that signifier invokes it, they will go back to the historical experience directly. And that can be an iatrogenic effect. Iatrogenic effects means you're creating more pain and more suffering and more trauma. So working with trauma is not for stupid people. You with me? And hopefully you have some trauma in your life, because it really takes one to know one. True. And you want to know what it is, how to work with trauma. But you also want to know what it is to work with people who have baby gnosis and have really good perception, like most of people have here because we've worked on it. But also that you have to be careful. Is there enough awareness to metabolize whatever this is going to be? And number two, is the person going directly back to the memory itself? At that point, two awarenesses are better than one, and to be in that awareness with that person helps make some of that metabolizable. But having that person by themselves in certain type of experiences like groups like to do, and they think that just the stripping of the person and that memory coming forth is going to give them liberation, is stupid. With that, we'll close up our thing for today. Thank you guys very, very much. But you just have to say that you've got the direct power of dynamic empowerment and good Yes, I'm coming. I have to go do something. Coming now. Is that why they're